be done.
Let's call the meeting to order. And start on claims, and we'll suspend that as soon as Mr. Cross arrives.
Okay. We have quite a few claims today, so I will move for the approval of the following claims. Jury claims and the purchase of 6 Tahoes for the sheriff dated tomorrow, October 5th. Regular claims dated October 4th. Veterans Assistance regular claim dated October 4th. Verizon claims and sundry claims dated October 2nd. Regular claims dated September 28th. Payroll dated October 6th. Perf and various taxes distribution dated October 6th. Done flex accounts and child support distribution dated October 6th. Truck purchase for the coroner dated September 21st. That has been delivered.
Yes.
Payroll withholding distribution dated September 29th. IRS and state income tax distribution dated September 28th. Boston Mutual payment dated September 28th. Legal claims from the courts dated September 26th. Various attorney claims, and a sealed claim from Circuit Court Judge dated, let me get this right. Very confusing. Various attorneys. September 26th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the claims signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
This one I'll put back in.
I got some.
I think I've signed my check.
Thank you. Steve, I'm hoping Ron will be here shortly, but I don't want to hold these ladies up, so let's go ahead and call the unsafe building hearing to order. And Mr. Sora, what have you got for us today?
Okay, so this is a continuation of our June 28th meeting. It's UBO 23-01. If you remember at that time, the board granted them 90 days to figure out what they're going to do with this, and they talked about maybe D&J coming in or maybe hiring somebody. So that was scheduled for September 27th. However, you folks weren't here, and so we had to extend it an additional week. And so they were mailed a register letter and first class as a reminder to be here on the 27th. And then they were also mailed notice to be here today. So, but at any rate, I've distributed the photographs, which I took this morning at 9:45 a.m. And it appears
That's this one?
that's it. And it appears nothing's been done. So
Okay. So obviously you got the notice of the meeting. I apologize for any confusion about last week. We had a conference that we were out of town for. So can you tell us what's going on from your perspective? And
I certainly can. You gave us 90 days to come up with a game plan. I didn't have figures for you the last time we were here. You asked if I could get figures within 90 days and so forth, which I have done. I have estimates from D&J as to, which two options, home-wise that we went through. I have contacted a couple of demolition people and have gotten estimates and so forth. I've also spoke with the banks. Due to my credit score at the moment, and all three of our credit scores, because we're all going to have to come in together to, make this happen, I have paid off a few things. So my bank is waiting on my credit score to jump before they will even give me a yay or nay, due to the fact I've paid some stuff off to make my credit score jump, for this purpose, which I was paying off on credit before, all of this. So I have talked to that. I have, the sale price on everything on that. I have, the water removal. I have the house demolition. We had estimates from a few different house demolitions. They were all willing to do so. I just, told them I would be in contact as soon as I heard something from the banks. And of course, I ended up down for at least a month due to kidney issues. So that put a dent in it. And then I had the flu on top of it. So that put a dent in the 90 days on top of everything. So, but we can't control health issues. So, we're, trying, but like I said, I have my list here of, who I've spoken to with my estimates. I'm, staying in touch with the bank. We're watching my credit score. As soon as I can hear something from them, I'll know a yay or nay.
okay. Steve, is there a recommendation from your office?
I really don't have a recommendation. I will say this has been going on for, it was a year in February, and the neighbors aren't real happy. I hear from the neighbors from time to time.
That was gonna be my question. Have you spoken to neighbors?
Not since our last meeting, I have not, but before that, they were heated up, so.
You wanted something
They
done.
want something done, so. And I will leave it up to the board. It's your decision, what you want to do. I don't really have a recommendation. It needs to be taken care of, though. So,
And we do have another dumpster coming within the next month, a month and a half, with the availability of the person who we borrowed the dumpster from last time to do some more cleanup as well.
And the date of this photograph is what?
today's
Today.
Today.
at 9:45 a.m. today.
Steve Higginbotham or Ron, any comments on this board's options?
What were your estimates?
I'm looking at roughly $300,000, and that's just,
300
To remove the house?
to remove the house, I'm looking at roughly 20 grand.
Okay.
And then 20 grand to remove it, and then with the insulation and, with the foundation, running electric, with the permits, the water hookup from, making sure all the water and everything's hooked up correctly. With one home, I'm looking at almost $300,000.
This is.
And another one with
hang on a
220.
second. I'm not asking about the replacement home. I'm talking about the cleanup. So it's 20,000.
Roughly looking at $20,000 to $25,000.
And is that something was the bank going to loan you money on that?
The bank was looking to put it all into one lump sum.
They wouldn't cover just the cleanup.
They didn't say for sure, as I went in and explained to them what I was looking for, and they wanted estimates as with all the numbers, which is what I gave them, and they were just going to put the big old loan into one lump sum, so it's all done in one issue, so that way we didn't have to try to come back again for another meeting to say, hey, now we need these permits and so forth to,
When's
Install
the last time that the credit score was checked? Because typically
3 weeks ago.
Typically, those get refreshed every couple weeks.
3 weeks ago was the credit score, and it was still hadn't been adjusted from where my credit cards that I had paid off and a couple medical bills that were on there had been paid for it to go up.
Did they think with that payoff that it was?
They think it would, yeah,
Is there a lien currently on this property?
no.
And so what's the option for the county in terms of removing? So if the county removed the building, cleaned up the site, then that would go on to their tax bill?
Yep.
Is that correct? Ron, is that something that's doable?
Oh, yeah.
Based on
We have
the information we have?
done that in the process of doing it on a commercial property in Salisbury there. So that's doable. That's not an issue. How did we leave this, Steve? I'm sorry, I get in here, but this is a continued hearing, isn't it?
It's a continued hearing, yeah.
Did the board make a finding of affirming your determination of an unsafe structure?
I think we just continued it.
Just continue the whole thing, so it wasn't confirming and then extending the period for
I don't believe it
compliance.
was. I think we
Okay.
just extended it 90 days to give them time.
And so would that be the first step then to affirm his opinion? It's a-
I think the evidence is pretty much without conflict, so I think that probably should be a step in the process that's done. Now, recognizing that if there's a confirmed unsafe building order outstanding on a property, that may or may not impact the ability of the person to borrow funds on that property. If there was truly a bank interested in advancing enough funds to allow the cleanup and remediation, I think we could easily communicate with them and assure them that if that's done to satisfaction of the department, we can, then that unsafe building will be removed. So
What bank have you talked to?
I've talked to US and my personal bank, First Financial. The credit union turned around and wanted a little bit more information that they want to look into.
any of those would be fine to work with, I think, in this area.
And so is this a similar situation with the mobile homes that then I would try to find some?
Matter of getting the certification filed. Right. Although there's a little bit different end game plan.
But I would solicit
If you
bids,
get 25,000 added to the assessed value of that property, it's still not gonna sell at tax sale. So there we're looking to pursue individual liability of the owner, as we did with the old Reed site.
And so if your intent is to put another structure on this site, and part of that would be removing what's there, maybe it would be helpful to you if we have it removed. It would go as a lien on your property tax. But then you'd have a clean site to build on when you're ready to take that step.
So you're saying if you turn around and took care of it and demolitioned it, whatever cost to do that gets added onto our taxes, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So you could, if you sold the property,
Well,
Then that-
first we would bill you for it.
right,
Well, right.
And if you didn't pay it, then it would.
then it would go as.
Then it goes on the taxes.
And the alternative to that, I guess, would be to give them another 30 days or 60 days, whatever we would determine, to try to clarify things here with their situation. But
That would be an alternative.
it seems like this is going to have to be one of the steps to tear the building down. That improves the neighborhood immediately.
Because I know we talked about, he brought it up, because we do have a full basement underneath. I mean, it takes up almost the whole length of the house. And he brought up, we tear it down. He was worried about, it being another issue of an open hole in the ground.
That's true. That would have to be
That'd be part of
dealt
it. You'd
with.
have to fill that in.
So that's where we had turned around. We had talked also within, all of that is, trying to save the basement, but nobody knows at this point until it's knocked down, if we can save the foundation or not. Either way, we'd love to save it. If not, okay, fill it in and, we lose our storage space, which is no big deal.
Well, and then the other issue would be, there'd have to be a fence put up or something to protect the people from falling into a big hole, so until you're able to rebuild
Or Phil.
or fill it.
Or fill it, yeah.
Questions, comments?
I think we probably need to declare this an unsafe building at some point like today.
I expect.
I think that's the route to go, and then we can start the process, and then maybe if we condemn it, demolish it, that might be a benefit to them, it's one less step. Lenders tend not to want to finance on demolition.
Demolition to the bill.
To it, so.
Because the way I understood it with, that it would be considered the construction loan with everything, putting it all together.
It just gets into situations where loan to values come into play, price of the value, stuff like that, and you add $25,000, $30,000 to the cost of that, it may not be feasible for them.
Construction loan is evaluated under one set of criteria where you can look at the as-built value as compared to the loan amount, along with other creditworthiness factors. As Brad says, just a demolition loan is going to have a different set of parameters for the analysis. I don't know that if the lender if there was a viable end game for them to get another structure there, I think the right lender would see that. And we gave them assurances that as long as our concerns are met, the unsafe building order will be lifted. I think that can be worked with. But I think there's a bigger credit issue here that we're able to deal with today.
Right. So, suggestion on how we proceed. Number one, we affirm the finding
First step
that it's
is,
an
based
unsafe
on the
building.
evidence, you determine whether or not you will
Should we go through findings of
affirm,
fact?
modify, or deny the finding of the.
I think you already presented those.
Okay, yeah.
Just to
Findings
refresh my
of fact.
memory, this one, the insurance had been canceled on it, correct? So there's no insurance settlement.
No, there was no insurance. It was a lapse of, miscommunication from the person who was the POA and had all the accounts, didn't communicate with the two other homeowners.
You,
So of course, like I said before, my aunt lives in Phoenix, so she's trying to help, with communication and so forth. And, she works anywhere between 12 to 16-hour days, with 4-hour time difference. We're trying to, communicate as possible.
I don't think we have any recourse if not to deem it an unsafe,
So
confirm the findings of,
do we have a motion to that effect?
so moved.
second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, the motion is to confirm the findings of fact that this, and confirm that this is an unsafe building. Anything else needs to go into that?
Well, I mean, I think nothing happens in government like that, so we're looking at two issues. Give them another period of time in which they can affect the required demolition and security of the property. If they fail to do so, then I think probably we would be first looking at moving in during winter months, securing the property, boarding from vandalism, and then my guess is any demolition would then have to be bid by us and probably deferred until spring of '24.
But we would go in and have somebody secure the site. And that
I'm
obviously,
speaking for Steve and his people. I mean,
well,
I
that's,
could easily say yes, but
I'm asking that question of all three of you.
We've done this before. This one, it looks like was the back off this garage is that,
Yeah, the roof, the back roof is burned off. That's,
typically we would put up some fence before, we boarded it up before.
in a similar situation on East Step Road, I recall, after a fire.
So do you want to give them time to secure their situation and report back to me?
I think what we need to do is, I guess the answer to your question, I would say that's up to the commissioners. That sounds like it's a reasonable approach, but I think what also needs to be discussed so that she has an understanding is what our timeline is going to be, assuming for sake of argument that once there's a confirmation today of your finding that's an unsafe structure, we will proceed in reasonably deliberate fashion to effect at least the removal of the debris and securing the property. And again, like I said, that's probably would take us through the end of this year to get all that done.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor on the confirming the finding of facts as an unsafe building. Any further discussion? If not, then all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. So, next step. Steve will move towards securing the building. Is that how I understood it?
I thought we would give them time to do their thing,
Okay.
and then once they didn't do that, then we take the steps to,
Do you have a
to get
recommendation on
bids.
how much time?
No, I don't. It's up to you guys. I mean,
60 days seems
60
reasonable.
Two,
If they do secure a loan now, they're taking 45 days for a loan, and I would say 60 days is a reasonable amount of time to hopefully.
In reality, you probably could give 90 because your weather is probably going to impact our ability.
I'm fine with that.
Well, it's going to impact the ability for demolition, but not for securing the building.
I think 30 days to clean up the debris and
That's
board
what I
up the
thought.
building. Let's
And
take it in steps here, financing is one thing, cleaning up the debris and securing the building is another. Do you think 30 days is sufficient to clean up the debris and board up the structure?
and again, we can take that in steps as well, right? We could go
We
ahead.
can, I would rather there be a line of demarcation, so to speak, between a project from the time we are involved in affecting whatever result we want to the time the private property owner is. I think that needs to be a clear line.
Okay.
And I get concerned if there's well
So
within
not-
some and they're trying
That's
to
why
get
I'm
some.
saying
not one
90
length of
days to
time to
allow
clean
them
up.
to do, either obtain financing, clean it up themselves, demolish it. If that's 90 days, that's not
Obviously, if they were
done,
to
we
have
take
a-
steps to do that.
if they were to get a commitment letter for sufficient financing to demo and build another structure for all we care, that's not our problem. That would give a lot of
Right.
work.
90 days is basically gonna be the end of the year. So do we wanna say December 31st? I mean,
It's fine with me. And then we will take steps at that point if it's
Right.
not.
and then I'll report back to you folks, and then we'll take the proper
It just
steps.
seems like the
So-
debris could be cleaned up
I
pretty
think she
rapidly.
indicated there's another dumpster on the way, so I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's your intent, is to try to clean it up as best you can.
And if it gets worse, for whatever reason, we can revisit that 90 days, right? So if there were another fire because somebody was camping out in there or something, we could take further steps. But so it sounds like we're headed towards giving you until the end of the year to address this. But at that point, if you haven't been able to, that the county would have to step in and take care of the situation and then bill you for the cost of demolition and cleanup. Does that sound reasonable to you?
I understand.
Okay.
And then I move that we allow the property owners until December 31st, through December 31st, 2023, time to remove the debris and demolish the structure. And if at that point it has not been cleaned up and demolished, then the county will take the necessary steps to do so and bill the property owners.
The only thing I would add to that is, or they provide a letter commitment from a lender saying they have obtained financing and that,
Unconditional letter of commitment.
Okay. Are you willing to?
that way,
Yeah,
that way,
given the
November
time of year.
25th, if they get one, but it's not gonna happen,
Or
at least we have
obtain
the commitment that
financing
it's
that will
Right.
adequately meet the
Okay.
order.
I'll second.
So-
The end game is always for these to have minimal amount of governmental involvement.
Absolutely.
We're not
Right,
We're
you
not
don't
here-
wanna do it.
you're
We
not
want
here
you
to shut structures down and demolish.
Absolutely. Okay.
It's a safety
So
factor, and obviously neighbors are involved.
So you added that amendment to
Right.
your motion, and you seconded the amended motion. Any further discussion?
Now, I do have a quick question now. When demolition starts, or we get the, the okay to go ahead and, knock it down within that time frame, do we have to contact him to let him know that it's being done? Or contact you?
I would, that way
You
I
should
can.
let him know what's happening, yes.
That way I understand, sometimes you wanna know, hey, okay, this is gonna start on this day, or, you just don't go out there and say, oh, there's an empty hole in the ground,
Exactly.
Yeah, you might just let me know.
Okay,
And demolition includes filling the hole or
Or
constructing
covering
over
it.
it.
right.
Okay. Any other questions? And this will be, she'll get a written summary of
I'll send
what
a
we've
letter,
done,
yeah.
right?
And you
Okay.
understand the motion?
Yes.
So you are gonna just send a letter just to clarify is everything we went over today, so that way there's a paper form.
Correct, correct.
I appreciate that, and that way it goes
Sure.
with, all the notes and so forth.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we've got clarity, there are no further questions or comments. If that is the case, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much for coming in. We
Good luck,
appreciate it.
Coming.
All right, thank you.
Good luck.
Get you that information in a written format, and hopefully you'll be able to make some progress here. Good luck.
All right, appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks, Steve.
What road is this on?
This is in, what's it called, Fairhaven? No,
Oh, yeah, east of
off of 27,
It's a work on, we're gonna have
Just,
craft class.
70, a few miles.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a bit of a backup here, so we've got several different things scheduled at the moment, so if you can wait for just a bit. Let's go to Mike Sharp, who's next on the list. Welcome, Michael. So, one of the questions here, if this has to do with the fuel tank removal?
Yes,
Okay, and so
this is the main.
we do
paperclip.
not yet have funding in place for this.
Okay.
It's on a list of potential projects to be funded out of ARPA,
Okay,
but there's no commitment at the moment. So do you think, do we
well, council
all think
voted
we
to
should?
move forward with it.
Today?
No. Last month. Took a vote and
I'm,
voted to move forward.
okay.
You know how they funded it a month ago?
They haven't mentioned that to
me.
me, but we can check that out. So what do you have here?
I can't remember if it was, I want to say it was a workshop last month.
They discussed it on workshop, but I never, because they were talking about taking
they
out
went
the
ahead and
general
took it.
fund.
No, they went ahead and took a vote and told me to move forward with it.
Was that in the minutes?
I don't remember that, but
I
that
don't
was a
have those with me.
long budget meeting and we didn't get out here
It
until late,
was.
so.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, that was the.
Actually, it may have been in, I can't remember which meeting.
We've
it
talked
was.
about this project in several different meetings, so they're all running together.
What this is just putting the bid out there. It doesn't mean you have to accept the bid.
Right.
So
And
this is putting the
that'll
bid
give
out
you-
there, it's advertising it and putting it out there.
That'll give you more current numbers.
Nothing's gonna happen till
This will
this
get
happens.
the numbers to know who's bidding on it, what that cost is gonna be.
Okay,
The preliminary cost I had, which that goes back to like April or May, when we were doing the budget process, was 500,000.
Right.
I don't know what, hopefully it's
Could be
gone down. I know in 2018, I think.
hold your breath on that,
Well, when
Mike.
I first started this project in 2018, asking to get this done, it was 200,000. So now we're up to 500,000.
We'll do it now at 200.
So,
We'll go back.
Yeah.
so this is what I put together, and this is just kind of a notice to bid, put it out for bid, to see what kind of response we get, if we get any responses. This would be removal of the two 12,000 gallon tanks. One is a diesel, one is an unleaded. It is for a closure of a 1,000 gallon tank, but leaving it in because of where it's located at. It would compromise kind of where our generator's at. If that was pulled out, it could compromise where that is. So IDEM has to approve that. So when I checked into it, they can approve certain things if it does structure damage or certain things.
Okay.
The two 12,000 gallon tanks, it sounded like they would not enclose in place. Even if you enclose it in place, you have to do excavation around to see what kind of contaminants you have. So it's not like you can just close it and we don't have to worry about the soil around it.
So even for this 1,000 gallon tank,
Even for the 1,000 gallon, they have to do certain borings and so forth around it. But then it's like flowable fill is what they would put into it. And you got a lot of documentation you got to go through to close it. So it would be closed properly. And then there would be 3 tanks put above ground for this project and where they would go. So the other thing I put in here was there's the concrete pads that the tanks would sit on. I put as an option. So they will price that separately. So then we can maybe do the concrete work ourselves. And then there's a cost to that. You know,
Sure.
Concrete's not cheap, but yet you're not paying somebody else to come in and do the concrete work that we may be able to do it in-house, be a little cheaper. So it's in here for them to bid that, but separate it out as an option. The other thing that we will not know the cost until this project is done is if there's any contaminated soil around that, what you don't know until it goes out. So what I put in here was for them, I basically put it in there, but I know any bids that come back in, they're gonna say unknown, but it would be, what I would be looking for is a cost per cubic yard for whatever that would be. So if it's 100 yards, cubic yards they got to take out, then that's gonna be on top of whatever the bid would be. Because nobody's gonna tell you, we're gonna do it and we'll remove everything for this price because you don't know how much soil, if any,
Sure.
that would have to be taken out.
so those soil samples have to be sent to
It's through laboratories and you gotta go through the whole IDEM. There's a lot of
Specs
processing.
need to make sure that reads as a mandatory alternate bid. In other words, it's required, but it'll be done on a unit basis.
So-
The way I put it in here was that it has to be done, but I know they'll separate that part of it out
Yeah, I mean,
for pricing wise.
I would hope they would.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're not gonna have anything we can.
Well, I mean, hopefully they don't, and then it's part of their bid, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're smart enough to know that part of it.
Mike, if IDEM does find some existing contamination, do you have any idea what other counties might have experienced in the way of fines? So if we are found to have had some hopefully limited.
I don't think you're not gonna get fined for that. It's just gonna be the cost of removing that and replacing that
Okay,
soil. So it's
so-
not a fine for that. We have a detection program now, we do testing and we do all the paperwork going forward. I mean, all that is done. IDEM comes out and does our yearly inspections and all that. So, I mean, we're in compliance with IDEM currently.
In terms of testing, but
Right.
going in more.
And by going with the above ground tanks instead of the below ground tanks, that eliminates a lot of this
Right.
headache that I have to deal with IDEM moving forward because they're above ground tanks.
So our liability.
Piping, where we'd place them at, and the piping would still run underground, but the piping will not hold enough gallons or material that you have to go through all the IDEM steps. So
Thank you.
it still will be underground, partially the piping and so forth, but we'll still have leak detections and so forth on the tanks and monitoring systems on that, which is included in this.
Ron, your thoughts on this? Are you seeing this for the first time too? Are you seeing this for the first time?
No, Mike
You've seen it already?
sent me a draft, and that was a concern I had, was the probability of some level of soil contamination that can't just be put back in, compacted, and ignored. And so he's addressing that, and I think that's appropriate at this point. Remediation, that could be almost anything. You saw what
No idea what that costs.
saw what happened at 10th and J corner there with the car lot now was a filling station. I guess there were items, bugging that place. Tried to get Biodes in to clean it up for a couple of years, I know. I don't know if they're finished at the old Reed yet or not. I thought they were getting close on the.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet either.
It's just can't, what has to happen, if they see what they have, then they will require us to procure a site characterization plan, which means we have to consult with it.
And, if there is contamination, we're better off finding out now rather than 10 years in the
Doesn't
future.
get any
So,
cheaper, that's for sure.
okay.
And the tanks are 32 years old. I think the last time they were replaced, they were 28 years old. 25 to 30 years is kind of the maximum on a lifespan of these tanks. So the longer they stay in the ground, the more likely you're going to have. We've already had to put some anodes in there. I've had to do some things. We put money into them to keep them passing through.
Okay.
The other thing I'm looking at is I found a source that I can apply for reimbursement through IDEM for 50%. It's not a guarantee, but it's something that if proper steps are followed and I fill out all the paperwork and all that and trying to put it to them, then they may be chosen. And part of it is if a tank's over, I think, 30 years old, it will call. It meets the standards. It's however much money they have for that pot.
Right.
When it goes out, it goes out. So
Well, I would encourage.
there's a chance we can, I'm looking to try to get to that 50% mark where, if it's 500,000, it would only cost the county 250,000. I think it's a reimbursement, so we may have to pay the 500,000 up front and then reimburse the 250,000.
Okay, that makes sense. So,
And even if we had to wait a year for,
Right.
To
My
get-
understanding is if you don't hit the first mark, there's a possibility, if they run out of money, you apply for it again, even though the project's done, as long as your paperwork's all in line. So that's what I'm working,
It's worth
striving
the-
to do, is to keep all that in line and
absolutely.
moving forward.
I'll make a
Try to
motion
do
that we allow Mike to open this up for bids to at least get a price where we're at.
We have a motion.
second,
We have a second. Any further discussion? And this will go, you'll send the notices out, or do you want Bobby?
Yeah, I'll give Bobby a copy.
Okay, good. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
I
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
probably want more than one
How
copy.
many copies?
I just need one.
Just one?
Let
And,
Bobby keep
We'll
one.
get one to keep.
Bobby's got one already.
We'll
Right,
sign
And
it.
so-
I'll
Signed.
give her an electronic one.
But she needs a signed one, so.
And we'll confirm on that the funding for this because I don't remember that either, but I've slept since then.
Well, we need to do it, so.
Yeah.
We'll figure out with council where
Whatever meeting
the
it was,
money's coming from.
It wasn't in the regular meeting, but I don't know exactly.
Well, the
None of the commissioners, I
50%
don't think were
grant.
present. That's why I just can't remember
Maybe
what
that's why we
meeting. It was, but I don't think any of you guys were in the room at the
You
time.
sure you didn't just dream that, Mike?
No, because I was surprised, because they was talking, I think, actually, maybe it was in the budget. You guys are in the budget process, I'm not positive.
We'll figure it out.
We'll get it. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I'm gonna
Mike.
pass that down to Bobby. All right.
You got two of those, you gave one to Mike. You
Gave one to
Mike.
Mike. Yep. Matthew Kane. By the way, congratulations on your award.
Yes, bravo.
Thank you.
That's a real
Best of
feather
the
in your
best.
cap. And
I was very
it
humbled and
makes us,
surprised.
makes us look good too, so
Well,
thank you for
Hey,
that.
that's,
We'll bask in your reflected glory.
Did you vote for yourself?
it wasn't a vote.
Oh.
I didn't even
Didn't even
know.
know.
No, nobody told me. Thank you for giving me just a few minutes real quick. We have before you a request for an addendum to the contract with Ritter Strategic Services for the radio study and feasibility. We have completed our in-person interviews with responders, and we also sent surveys out to the different public safety entities. And those all came back kind of singing the same song when it comes to specifically the indoor coverage. of radio transmission. We kind of know that that's a problem in schools specifically, also some of the retail big box stores out east here in Richmond. And it confirms what we kind of already know based on historical use of the system. So in speaking with the consultants, we thought it might be better, instead of doing the indoor coverage testing, which is specified in the original scope of work, that it might be better and more beneficial for all of us to do some of the problematic areas of the county. We have a corner in southwest Wayne County that is historically showing some weakness, also the far northeast. And they proposed an option of going and doing better detailed and more focused coverage study of those specific problematic areas instead of doing the indoor coverage testing, which that makes perfect sense to me. There's no point in doing something that we kind of already know what the answer is going to be versus trying to find out some more information. So that is what this is stating, that instead of doing the indoor coverage that is talked about in the original scope, that we instead will do some of that focused area of the problematic coverage areas instead of that. No change in the cost at all for doing that and making that change. It just was a diversion from the original scope of practice, and thought that it better come before you for a blessing.
And so that can just be a blessing that will appear in the minutes as opposed to signing some kind of contract addendum.
That's fine.
Filling a need.
Ron, it's okay for it to appear in
It's
the minutes?
basically just redefining scope of work,
Correct.
focusing, no change in amounts, that's, I mean,
Okay. Hey, the whatever his award was, the person of the year, the 911 director of the year, has come to us and is recommending that we change the scope.
How long can I write that?
How could we not disagree with
Just for
them?
today, just for
I mean-
today.
Oh,
Matthew.
just today. Okay, that makes sense.
So moved that we allow the operator of the year,
Director
director of the year.
Yeah,
Correction.
to make these
Make these
changes in
changes.
scope. All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So you don't leave
Go
without a
forth
parting
and
gift.
prosper.
Have a seat, I want to talk to you about FirstNet.
I got your voicemail.
Yes, I just wanted to be sure that you're in the loop. When we were down at the AIC conference, I met the AT&T people who have an agreement with the sheriff apparently regarding this fleet of Starlink trucks that in the need of an emergency, such as what we had with the industrial fire April 11th. A fleet of trucks are standing by in Dayton that are called FirstNet satellite communications trucks that will fill in any jamming of communication lines of any kind that are produced by Elon Musk Starlink. Basically, the communication system for the Ukrainian war on the Ukrainian side that supersede any and all cell communications and all tower communications. This is piggybacked on the state's contract with AT&T to provide emergency communications in an emergency. I asked them if they had, coordinated with you, and they said, no, we need to do that right away. So I said, well,
They
make sure.
have.
Okay, good. They said they had not a week ago, and I said, well, you really must, since this is
No,
communication.
it's not new. This is something that's been around for 4 or 5 years, I would say. Originally built off the commercial infrastructure, not public safety grade, commercial structure of AT&T, which our coverage in the county has gotten better, but does have some lacking areas, just kind of like the radio. So we have, our agency has decided to stay with Verizon. Sheriff's Department did some testing with FirstNet a couple of years ago. At that time, they decided to stay with Verizon. Verizon has some of the same offerings when it comes to the cell towers on wheels and things like that as well. Maybe not to the extent of this, because like you said, it is federally backed. It, of course, all comes with a price, so.
Yeah, that was what concerned me because we had not heard about this being installed this week. They said it's being installed for Wayne County this week. And that came as a surprise because we'd had no discussion of it. So I just wanted to be sure that we're on top of this. I guess the sheriff's going to be here later. Well, anyway, we'll talk to the sheriff about it because learning that we were entering into an agreement with AT&T was a surprise. I just wanted to share that with you.
I actually did talk to the sheriff. He's out of state this week, but he assured me that he had not signed a contract, that he had gotten some
Last I heard, they were just like doing some demoing of some of the equipment and that kind of thing.
And
Just kind of like they
That
did
is how it
two,
was transferred to me.
using
kind of like
some
it
cell
was 2
phones.
years ago, yeah.
Because he told us at the ops board meeting that he was testing some AT&T cell phones to see if they had better coverage in certain areas than
That's how
Verizon.
I understood it anyway.
Now,
Well,
I
yeah, these
also
aren't
talked
cell, they're
to-
satellite.
I also talked to Barry Ritter, and Barry told me that this particular thing is a program that is paid for by the federal government. And so there was no cost to the
Right,
county
that's
for
what
sending these
AT&T
things.
told me, that there was, it's a piggyback on a state contract that's funded by the federal government. So, if there's no cost to the county, that's why we would not have heard about it being installed. But
So I think we're in.
I just wanted to be sure we had all full disclosure, and there's a little parting gift there, a little koozie.
Appreciate that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director of the Year.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. Hi, Joe.
Hi.
How are you? Sorry. There we go. It's 2:20.
I only have,
And
Two
I'm,
minutes early.
2:18, yeah.
2 minutes
Well,
early.
they wanted it to be a surprise, I'm sure. So we can all feel confident that the emergency,
The aliens come down and
notification system.
Be notified.
exactly,
even if you're on vibrate,
there you go.
I wanted to know if that worked on vibrate.
I had mine on silence, but it overrides it.
Override silence too.
It's important. It's important stuff. So you ladies are members of the Wellness Task Force Committee. What do you call yourselves? What does Kim call you?
Wellness Council, I think.
Council. There you go.
Yes.
And you're here today for a request. Can
Correct.
you fill us
Blessing.
in on what you would like to do?
Yes. So my name is Tracy Lotzenheiser. I'm partnering with Joe to do awareness each month for the council, recognizing like October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Next month is Diabetes Month. There's always an awareness. And so we are looking for your guidance on the parameters that we can use to decorate or place decorations in the courthouse and the annex building so that we can let the public be aware. We brought some examples of what we'd like to do for Breast Cancer Awareness Month so that you would see that it's not anything gaudy or whatever, but that we put a lot of thought to it and that we just need your permission to let us know what we can do. Some of the ideas that we had thought about was utilizing a wall here in the annex to make a display for breast cancer awareness. We've got some samples. This is what the lettering would look like. So it's, I don't know if you want me to pass around or whatever, but it would be very,
Yeah,
it's actually cut out, so, yeah.
whoops.
And then we also did a sign. We'll have 3 of these signs. They're made out of wood. They would be hung up. There's 2 possibly. The entrance of the courthouse, as you go up the stairs, there would be one on each side of the pillar facing the stairs. And then there would be one here, if we could utilize the glass here. Again, this is made out of wood, there's 3 of them. We also have other signage with information about breast cancer awareness, how it affects men and women both. I've decorated a couple bras, one would be hung up here, one would be hung up. Yeah.
She did really, and it's not specific to Reed. We did
Right.
research that.
We Googled, so there's lots of organizations and hospitals that do them. So we would hang up these bras representing breast cancer awareness. Here's a second one. But we just want to get additional input from you, like what we can do, what we can't do, any suggestions from you.
And maybe a pink thing going down the railing, not touching where people touch with little
Right.
ribbons.
So like tool going down the railing of the stairs, not impeding anybody's grip or anything.
Joe mentioned this to me yesterday or Monday, and I suggested that they should come in to talk to the commissioners. It's something that I think the commissioners ought to weigh in on. When she told me that you were planning to put up some bras, I said, well, yeah, let's talk about that and see what you have. Those are very tastefully decorated, so nothing necessarily out of school, but I think it's something that the commissioners need to make a determination on, so as we're responsible for the buildings. Any thoughts off the top of your
I
head?
think you let them
it
do whatever
makes
they want to
sense.
do on decorating, especially something like this. It's
I think it makes sense. It's
so
part of the
important
wellness
that
task force.
awareness, and I'm not even opposed because, you know, the Bravo has the decoration of the bras and stuff like that. I mean,
Correct.
I'm not opposed to anything like that because it's very important to make the awareness of that. And then every month that they have, because I think you said you're going to do a different theme for whatever that awareness is.
We would like to, yes.
And I think
Like
just,
November's No Shave November for men's
It's also
cancer.
diabetes awareness too.
What's November's?
Diabetes.
true?
I'm sorry, which cancer?
Diabetes.
Diabetes. I mean, we're not gonna have another cancer every month, right?
I don't think so, no.
I mean, diminishing returns can set in if, you know, every month there's another malady. You don't plan to do this beyond November?
January is blood donor, or could be glaucoma or thyroid. February's heart month, which I think should be heart month. March is development of disability awareness. April is minority health month, and also autism. May is mental health awareness, and senior month. I mean, it goes on. It's not all cancer.
Oh, and you're willing to do this every month of the year, every year for the foreseeable future? I mean, this is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but it's
Maintain
also a lot of information that we feel, you know, needs to be out there too.
Well, that's what
the
the
council's
council
for.
is trying to do. It's
Yeah.
an awareness thing.
right.
Okay.
I
have
think
no
it's
problem
great.
at all.
I
The money's
appreciate
available
that.
in their budget.
They do not have a budget, I don't believe, so.
No, this is out of our pocket.
No, we
I mean, this could get costly. I guess that's what I'm wondering as this
I
goes
think
forward to
We need to
maintain
talk
it.
to Kim, and Kim is unavailable this afternoon, so.
I mean, we could do a
can talk to
luncheon
Kim.
and, you know, like, or something, or a salad bar, maybe to raise funds.
It's not right for the council to be underwriting these costs out of your own pocket, is my point. And, you know, with this forecast for monthly, these items are not cheap. And I just don't want you to have to be self-funding this, because each and every one of those are important.
Right.
And especially if we can back it up with how our wellness program funds mammograms, you know, how mammograms are preventative and, you know, mental health, you know, explain to people that if you have not taken advantage of the county's programs that address.
Right. And we're lucky to have that program.
Right, and here's how easy it is to access mammograms and, you know, early detection and how important that is and various things, not just breast cancer and mental health, but especially if we can link the awareness to early treatment
Right.
and the accessibility and how the county's programs have been linked to how we can offer treatment and recovery from these, especially if treated early.
Right.
You see my point? I'd
Yes.
like to link that. So awareness is great, but especially if it's linked to treatment and recovery from all of these things.
We definitely will be working with Candace from Reed, so that she's in the link or in the loop.
We wanted to do a pink ribbon walk, but we figured it might be out of our league and there would be, you know, questions about when people could walk and do things. So we kind of put that one on hold. We thought maybe we would make like a Friday, a pink day, or just awareness. Maybe next year we can do the pink trail, but it would takes a little bit more planning.
More advanced
Yeah, I
planning.
think breast cancer has extremely high awareness from everything the NFL, everybody's on the breast cancer awareness. There are some other cancers that have far less awareness, but
They're all in a month too, if you really want to dig for them.
I know, and everybody has a color, you know, pink and breast are very much aware, but, you know, treatment and how our plan covers for early treatment detection, that's where we want to really link that up so we can really get people, not just women, but men as well, to
Not men,
be
men,
aware of how early detection is so important for recovery.
So, thank you for your willingness to do it. I would appreciate it if your group would, get with Kim and just
She's on
let
her way
us
in.
know. I'm sorry,
She's on her way in right now.
let her know and then let us know which months you're planning to do what. But I don't see any problem. We can work with Kim to see if there's some funding that could be made available to pay for some of this stuff. And I think let's go ahead and give them approval to,
So moved.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the Breast Cancer Awareness Month decorations. Thank you to your team.
And subsequent.
And subsequent months, but again, with working through Kim to keep us posted on what's going on. So
Thank you very much.
all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Appreciate it.
I assume they're allowed to take donations.
Yes.
As soon as I do,
Did you want
as soon as I
to?
do a resolution.
Yes, as soon as we get a resolution for donations. And
We
we'd
know
be
if
happy for
our,
you to be the first
Our
donor.
wellness platform is still in a state of flux as far as administration.
I don't know. But Kim is apparently on her way in. Okay. Attorney Ron Cross, the last of our 2:00 appointments.
Goes early. It's unlike me. I have here a memorandum of understanding that is awaiting final draft approval from the city of Richmond that would allow us access, our contractors access to the areas necessary to do the repair and renovation of South G Street Bridge. So that'll be coming back to you, but there's no point really, unless you just have a burning desire to see. I was over teched on it. I just did the text and then let them figure out what to attach to it. But we're working on that, and I think it's, as you indicated to the gentleman this morning who expressed interest, that they hope to bid that in. We hope to bid that in December, early January, and construction to follow. We hope. That's there. I'm going to hand out to you.
Let me just, before you move to the next thing, let me share with you what Brandon Sanders shared with me about not only this federal bridge project, but there's a couple more federal projects in the works for the next couple of years. And he's been in communication with NDOT. As you're aware, there's been a lot of inflation, and particularly in things like building materials and contractors. And so when a federal aid project is approved, it has a number, a budget number. This was actually approved, I want to say 2 years ago. It goes back a ways. And then it has to go through the process of being approved and then being contracted and having the engineering work done and all that stuff. Bottom line is, Brandon thinks with inflation, it may well be that the 80% that was approved from federal aid money will not go up even if the cost of the project goes up. And so we're left with the choice of either saying no to the project or coming up with potentially 100% of the increase in cost once it goes to bid. So we won't know that until until the bids come in February or so. But at that point then, and for the next few projects, the first step would be go to NDOT, ask if there happens to be any additional money that could go for 80% of the overage. But then it would be up to us to decide, are we going to pay the overage ourselves? And working with council, where are we going to come up with the funding? So he thinks it could be significant. And over the coming couple of years, the 10-year bridge plan already calls for the balance in the bridge fund to decline to around $1 million, where a couple years ago it was $5 million. But at that point, then he expects it will start growing again because of how the 10-year plan is laid out. So this is one, and
He hasn't told us that before.
the 10-year plan shows that there'll be a significant reduction in the balance, and then it'll go back up. So the question is how much of a reduction, and part of that will be based on these federal projects and if there are overages that we have to make up ourselves. So he thinks it's controllable, but we won't know until we.
Has he already factored in his $850-some thousand from the bond fund? I take it somewhere.
Yes,
Somewhere.
yes. And, well, his current projection for using that is in community crossings projects
Part of local.
to pay the 50% match for those community crossing projects. So we could divert those, but we're
Only
also
spend it
giving
once.
up the 50% match from the state. So we'll need to make those decisions as they come up. I just wanted you to be aware that there's some potential challenges to the funding in the bridge fund.
In the case of the G Street Bridge, we did opt to spend much higher on the decking for aesthetic purposes, so close to the high school, and the desire to have aesthetically pleasing visual on the overarching wrought iron kind of, it looks like wrought iron instead of your usual.
And this
We are
goes back,
spending considerably more than we would have to meet the needs of that bridge. So I'm
and that's a
guessing,
minimum of $350,000. So the current plan, as it goes back 4 or 5 years, calls for fencing
Right.
above the concrete railing to prevent people from
suicide
jumping
prevention.
off of the bridge. The National Road Bridge doesn't have that. The Main Street Bridge doesn't have that. But the request, or the commissioners opted to put that in, as my understanding was, at the request of the high school for one thing, or the school system, that it have that. And the style is significantly more expensive than some of the chain link protective fencing that you see on other
Back when we had
bridges.
$5.5 million in the bridge fund.
Correct. So at any rate, those
Sounds
are
like
things
there's
that can be looked at.
potential for value engineering if we had to get to that point
Exactly.
after we see the bids.
Exactly. Okay, so Ron, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What else?
I'm going to hand out 3 copies of a proposed lease renewal with EDC for the Gateway Industrial Park, so keep the stickum on them. The only issue that I'm really aware of is the term. They wanted another 10-year lease. I think we'd expressed some interest in coordinating the term with the contract between the county and the EDC. So if we did that, the current contract expires December 31 of 2024, so I'll hand that one down to Brad. Everything else is the same except the second inside page term.
So,
If we went to the next 4 years, that would basically get us into 12/31/2028.
Okay.
And if we honored their request for a full 10-year renewal, it would take it into 12/31/2032, so.
so from a kind of a what-if perspective, if we have a contract with them on leasing for marketing purposes, the industrial park for 10 years, and the, at that, one of those 4-year increments, that contract with EDC as our marketing arm goes away.
Yeah.
What does that do to us?
This goes away.
So this would go away too? So there's really no downside of.
No,
giving
I mean, I
them
think
10
we go
years.
down, it's at the least terminate in any event. Or lessee, EDC shall not be exempt from federal tax under 501. Or the contract of the lessee with the Board of Commissioners for countywide economic development is canceled or terminates. That's the contingency you thought of. Or statutes of the state of Indiana, IRS, code of regulations, make it impractical for the lease to continue. So we've got all kinds of outs, but the only problem with the 10-year is that, as evident, neither George Sowers, Val, nor my memory remembered it when it expired at the end of 22. Now, I don't think I'll be around in 32 to have to worry about that, but somebody will.
Bobby, can you put that on your calendar? That it will need to be renewed in 2032?
I will.
Thank you.
So all I would need would be then a motion to accept the term, the one you deem appropriate, and I can go and then make additional copies and we can get signatures on our side today. I don't want to staple anything because I'm trying to find a legal description. I don't have it anywhere in my
So you
records.
want to
I
add that to this.
have to add that as Exhibit A.
As long as there's an out.
They've got a pretty good year, pretty good couple of years. No.
Absolutely. I have no objection to the 10-year
I don't
term.
know why you have an out, so.
And the 10-year term then would start
January 1 of
January 1
2023.
of 23, so
After
it'd
the
be
first of this
retroactive
year.
Keep
for a
it,
year.
to keep it
Okay,
seamless,
and
so it's sort of seamless.
it would end December 31 of 2032. Okay. So let's even put it like October of 2032 so that
Jeff plans to
so
still
we
be here.
have time to renew before it expires. So what's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion that we approve the lease for 10 years.
Second.
Any further discussion or comment?
Just give me that one back and I'll make copies or have copies.
Oh, you don't want us to go ahead and sign these, or do you want us to?
Each one's different.
Oh, each one's different.
Each one has a
Okay.
different second page based on the term and the sticky note outside it.
Gotcha. So all in favor of approving the 10-year lease signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Or you want to sign the signature page, I can just add it. I guess that's
Is the signature page?
signature
the
pages are all
same?
the same. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and sign all the signature pages. Let me get that out of the way. What else have you got?
I have a memo going to you on issues of the, related to the well care lease as it relates to the status of issues, if you will, that will be prevalent to be considered. It sounds kind of like morbid, like some of us are planning to leave, but we're not planning it, but we need to have certain things in place
Sure.
in a time frame at the end of the current extended lease term, which would be May 31 of 2026. And to be, we know about it, we've given a courtesy notice, we've not given an official.
Can we turn that off?
Not sure
Know how? Is there a plug you can pull?
Just pull the whole thing.
You want to sign
It'll
those,
affect
maybe?
WCTV maybe.
He's got a boom mic on there that you can you can use, don't you?
Yeah.
If we turn that off, that be okay with you?
As long as,
And
everyone speaks
as Steve
loudly.
alluded to, I'm on my back burner that needs to come to front burner list is getting the taxes certified to the auditor for the cost of removal of the unsafe structures or environment on Salisbury Road. So we need to get that done so it gets put on the tax rolls. We go ahead and parallel proceedings, proceed against the owner of Palm Harbor.
Okay. Backing up to the EDC, what's the term of our current agreement with them? Does that run through
December
24?
31, 2024.
So it
One
runs
of
one
the,
more
one of the,
year.
that was the first option I gave you, just, and then we just get in lockstep with that.
Okay.
Do we have any appointees that expire in 2023?
You mean their appointments expire?
To the board, I don't know, I
Guessing we
can check
do.
with Val. You can just hand those to Ron and you sign them. Anything else, Ron?
I think that's all I've got right now. I
Okay,
mentioned Mary Ann, and I put out on listserv, and I've got a big solid no response, but on my municipal lawyer listserv, I'm not aware of any recently enacted statutes that would allow budgeted funds to be used for employee recognition expenses, so we'll have to track it down. I don't know, Mark, if you have any resources, the LGF or otherwise, that might thought on that, but I don't think there's an ability to do it. Recall the last time it was attempted, as Mary Ann noted, it wasn't a lot, but there were some pins that I think were required to recognize seniority attainment by employees at various
5-year
levels.
increments or something.
And the SBOA objected to that, and I think the commissioners,
How much money are you talking about?
pardon?
How much money do you think this is gonna cost?
Well, I mean, I don't know, it was
don't have a plan.
$500 in that case, and they objected to that, and the commissioners, rather than fight it, decided to just go ahead and reimburse it. So that's been a few years ago, but still. I think as we're seeing,
Some money.
it costs more just to do a nice, resolution and have some kind of border presentation, framing, however you want to call it. So, and you're getting asked to do a lot of them, and that doesn't even then include things you might want to do. Now, I don't know if there's still the possibility, as we used to do for the holiday meal, to solicit some of your vendors, and I used to get pretty good
That's
response, I thought.
That's where I go.
But we'd have to have a mechanism, an ordinance in place for allowing that, right?
We're assuming we do, and rather than,
Thought we should do another one rather than just assume. Okay.
I really don't like soliciting vendors.
I know,
I don't either.
but you're not the only one that does. I've had any solace.
So going back to the wellness and doing decorating and that kind of stuff. Now, that could be spent, that could be paid for out of operational funds, could it not? We're not giving it to employees, we're decorating.
I mean, I don't know if there's money in the wellness budget, so to speak, for education and awareness, but I think it's certainly,
You don't have a budget for wellness, do you? Other than
No,
just
it's only
just a
those
line
that are
item.
under the health plan participate, so the bills get sent down to done.
I can't hear you, Kim.
The bills get sent to Dunn. So,
Like for the health fair, if we do things like that, it gets sent down out of
so
Paying for Reed Wellness.
done.
Out of what
Well-
fund? I mean,
They have a trust down there and we send the bills. And again, we monitor and make sure the individuals participating are within the health plan. And Kathy gave the green light that that's what could be done.
comes
We've
out
been
of
doing
the
that for a long time.
3.7 million.
there's nothing for like PSA or announcements, public interest announcements, public service.
Not
or
necessarily
to
unless,
promote early detection or wellness.
I mean, as long as
checks
it's, I
or-
wouldn't see a problem as long as it's categorized as part of our health plan and wellness, even though it's gonna help other people, but that's my new.
Because when we were meeting with Joe and the other young lady, they said they were paying for these wellness of the month promotions out of their own pockets. That's just not right.
No, and I wasn't aware of that.
I think we could pay for it out of our supply, commissioner's supply budget. I mean, we never spend all that.
I mean, you're sticking materials that are the public interest up on a public venue, I mean, a bulletin board or a space dedicated to that type of thing.
And it's not necessarily restricted to people in our insurance program, so.
So I'm kind of lost
Why don't you
because
talk
I
to them?
haven't really talked to
I
them
know.
on what they're doing.
And
so-
I asked them to get with you, but you need to talk to them. And one of our questions was, can we figure out a way to allow you to pay for that stuff through our budget instead of out of their own pockets? And that's what they have done up to this point with the breast cancer awareness.
Okay.
So look into that and let us know what you find out, how much you think it might cost, and see if we have enough money in our supply line. If we don't, ask council to give us a little bit more. I mean, it shouldn't be all that expensive. A couple of bucks for the year, something like
So may I
that,
ask what you authorized?
to do what they're asked to do.
A monthly promotion for wellness
Okay.
in concert with recognized months like this is October is breast cancer, November is diabetes, March is mental health. Every month has a different theme. And of course, what I want them to do is something that would tie in an encouragement to utilize our county programs to have wellness visits and early detection, like this month, get a mammogram, and to promote how our wellness is very well covered and that sort of thing.
All right, let's move on to Mr. Higginbotham.
Okay, you have your report that I gave out to council this morning. I enjoyed it very detailed. I just have some specific questions on that. Just a reminder that the balance in the one-time expenditure account of council is just slightly less than 300,000. Bobby has advertised at their instruction to additional appropriation in that of $2 million. So that'll be more than enough to finish what we have projected. And the items then they gave us go ahead to items 18 and 19, those main service upgrade and the projector pump panels. And that's an amount not to exceed that number there. So I'll go ahead and get a couple of quotes and proceed with that.
Back up to line 7, the chamber technology.
Yep.
Obviously, Joe did put in the additional microphones here, and the control unit is absolutely, we need to get that sooner than later and be trained on how to use it, so.
Right, and I talked to him today about that, and apparently there's something between the software and the control unit that does not give him complete control. And he's working with the company, and that's where that is. I can't give you a date.
So it's out of control.
Yeah,
It's obvious.
it's not we're not in control yet. But I do think that with the adjustment of these, and I think he's actually moving it back a little bit, you can see they're not quite as directly over the dais up there.
Right.
Further back to pick up the two tables and the podium, and that seemed to work pretty good this morning.
I thought it did. But he is still planning to add a small set of microphones right above the podium, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else on that?
Anybody have questions on projects?
Yeah, November 10th is the new HVAC at the Expo Hall.
It's the start date for installation.
Start
Even
date.
though everything's been delivered, is there, I thought delivery was
Well,
last month.
you can't, it's tied into events. That date gives them a 13-day window when there's nothing in there to be able to work inside. And then they've got to pour the foundation first before they can set the units on the outside. And so that starts, and then that's got to set up a little bit. So that's why the November 10th date was chosen, just to coordinate with what's going on out there.
It's that busy in October.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I thought with the delivery of materials that they really can't do anything if there's usage?
That's why they're pouring the foundation now. They can do that on the outside. And so they can't work inside to do the electrical work and the duct work until that November 10th date.
And you've looked at the bookings to know that these are actually
Right.
dues paying. There's not like a sheep club shearing event or something.
I didn't ask what the events were, but Brad has indicated that this is when it's first available.
Okay. You get my point, though. I mean, if
I
there's.
do, but
It is what it is.
I mean,
Well, it could, I mean, there's events and then there are events.
I think Brad is, well, I think he knows enough that if if it's something that can be moved elsewhere, he'll do it. I'll ask him, but I feel pretty comfortable with it.
I hate to lose 5 or 6 weeks if it's, I mean,
I'll check.
Okay,
these are valuable weeks.
what else?
And then I'm waiting on two more quotes for the recorder's wall. I've had 2 other contractors look at it. One of them indicated I should have that by Monday, and I hope to get that other one next week as well. So then we'll have 3 quotes to look at the recorder's wall.
And my understanding is that council has approved that, but
Yes.
did they formally approve it?
I think they did.
I thought they did too.
I thought so
There was no
too,
dollar amount, they just approved.
but we also need to approve.
You'll get the quotes back to you.
Okay.
And
And I think there's a little bit more to it, that she needs to put together a request, the recorder, that lists the uses she's planning to put the records perpetuation to. And it needs council and commissioner approval.
you think that's a piece of paper?
I believe it is, so I can check with Debbie and make sure that that's in the works at
Yeah,
least.
because she wants it so badly, she's willing to underwrite it.
Exactly.
Okay. And then the courthouse security has requested an additional cell phone locker. Recall that we put up a couple of cell phone lockers and we passed the ordinance for no cell phones in the courthouse. And they run into several times when they're all full and they don't want to keep them there at their station. So we looked at that. There's room for another one. What would we think? Another box of 30? Something like
They're
that.
pretty
Could
small
they be smaller?
boxes.
Yeah, this will be, one we've got there now also holds tablets too. So this one will just be for cell phones, so. Unless you have some objection, we'll put up.
Yeah, small.
Cell
No
phone box.
objections.
No bag phones need apply.
No. And then I had, for the parking lot ceiling, we'd solicited quotes for sealing the US Bank lot, restriping this lot, and then sealing the cracks and restriping the 4th Street lot. And one of the companies we solicited didn't want to bid. He didn't have enough time this year to do it. Another one, which was Armstrong Parking Marking. He did give us a bid that he indicated he would hold through next year, but he could not do it till next year. And so his bid, or his quote, was $12,236. And then another company, and both of these are Richmond companies as well, Wayne County companies. This one was All About Asphalt. His quote was $13,700, so about $1,500 more. He's initially indicated he can do it this year. And my suggestion is we take that because we need to cut that.
I think we need to get the marking done, and especially.
We can't ask for a bid from Mike Sharp and Friends.
He doesn't stripe like that.
He stripes pretty gray.
Well, no, he doesn't.
I mean,
Not parking lots.
okay.
He does center lines, but
It's a
And-
different animal,
I
different
mean,
equipment.
if where he stripes gray.
you need a template to do the handicap emblem.
He does railroad crossings gray.
Did you happen to check with Black Cat? I know I don't know if they do
I
striping.
don't know what the third one was.
Their availability, who knows, they're all busy.
I think
But I'm okay with the other one to pay him
time
more
is
to get
kind
it.
of
Yeah,
He can get right on
timing
it, he
is
said.
worth $1,500.
he's indicated that when we first got this quote.
I'm okay with that.
And that includes the fire lane,
Yes,
Fourth
We need to
Street
get it done as
Yes.
sooner than later, so.
because this ties into our parking.
Exactly. And we want to present that to the elected officials and department heads on the fourth Wednesday of this month.
So my recommendation is to accept the quote from All About Asphalt for $13,700, and that'll be paid out of the building grounds budget.
So moved.
Have a
Second.
motion
Did we
and
go-
a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Also, you have before you paper that looks like this. Yeah, this one, yeah, this one. This is a layout of the IT department. They have solicited quotes to replace their desks and chairs and a computer workbench where they can work on some of the computers that they get. And this is the layout. The second page is a rendering of what it would look like in their office. And the low quote was from Friend's Office for $10,514. And Craig indicates that he has enough money left in his 4,000 accounts this year because he was able to buy some stuff that he planned on when he first got the appropriation at a lower price. And so he's got some money left over, and he is requesting to purchase these workstations and pay for it out of his 4,000 account.
Sounds good to me.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And then, as you know, we had the auction on Saturday, and we took in $55,958. But $54,150 was from vehicles.
Which
So
means what, $1,000 from all the other stuff?
about $1,800. For example, you know, a skid of monitors was $1. And this is something we've talked about for several years.
We need to deal with this.
We need to do something different.
And not only that, but people didn't take everything that they
Correct.
bought for $1.
Yeah.
If they bought a skid, they might take a half a dozen of them and leave 50 of them.
Right.
Right where it is, and so we still gotta dispose of them.
I'm assuming we pay an auctioneer to do
Yes,
this.
yes.
So we have cost involved in all these things.
10%.
And, excuse me if I don't understand how government works, but I'm assuming that if it's skid of monitors that have minimal value, if any, we can't just dispose of them?
Yes.
We have to
And
declare
no
that it
value.
has no value.
And I
we
think-
can throw them away.
and what we've done historically is, you know, we've taken this stuff when it's been discarded by the various departments, we take it to the maintenance building and we store it. And
Until the auction.
yeah, till we do the auction, you know, the next year. So in some cases, if we get something now, it'll sit over there till next October. I'm suggesting that, I think I can give you a pretty good basis for, because I keep all these records, I can go back and tell you that a skid of monitors from the last 5 years goes for $1. And I can come to you then and say, you know, declare this of no value, let us dispose of it.
I think that's the best way to go.
I do too.
I mean, certain things I'm sure have
There's
Some
other
more
can be
scrapped.
desks, chairs probably sell.
Chairs don't do
Chairs were
well.
terrible.
Don't well?
They don't.
The chairs were going for $1
Yeah.
apiece, or $1 for.
I mean, we have
a row.
historical value or
Yeah,
reports have shown what sells, so I think
Exactly.
Like-
come to us when you have stuff, and that way we're not using our storage area.
Some of the stuff, we'd be better off taking it for scrap, instead of holding it for 6 or 8 months and then selling it for nothing.
like a,
And paying somebody to
Not selling it.
auction.
And paying our maintenance people to move that stuff around.
I have another idea. I've worked for manufacturing companies, and once a month, at the end of every month, we would have certain items, either manufacturing goods that were somewhat flawed. At the end of every month, we would let employees come in and just carry out stuff that we deemed of having no value. It was a real, you know, it was a rapport building kind of a thing, and people were so proud that they would get some stuff of value for
IDTech
nothing.
did similar things, but we actually purchased it for
Sometimes
next to
we,
nothing.
yeah, put a little price
Ron,
tag on it.
are you familiar with, I don't know what the schools do, or is it possible
We have,
to?
we have an auction, I think we've gone to online auctioning.
But is it possible for employees to, something that's declared of no value to
And I,
take that
that
home with them?
I don't
We may
know,
need-
I know
we
it's
may need a little
possible,
more-
whether it's being done or not, I don't
We
know.
may need a little more research from you on
if I
that.
throw it in the
what our
dumpster and they
options
drag
are.
it out of the dumpster, that's, you know,
Or just put it on a skid.
put it beside the dumpster.
You know,
We'd have
It wouldn't
liability.
last long on the street, I guarantee you. Somebody's gonna come along.
in my
and-
daughter's neighborhood, they put stuff out by the curb and put a sign
Free.
that says free.
It's gone.
And it's gone before.
All we have to do is just lay it outside our dumpsters, there's 5 between us and the bank, and just lay it there. Usually it's gone by the end of the day.
And I've done that at my house. I put some stuff on a hay wagon and say free, and
Yeah,
it's gone. So I think,
Let's look at some alternatives.
yes, and the fleet management committee then will look at a different way to sell cars too. Now, we got a pretty good price out of these cars.
Yeah.
We got a real good price out of some of them, didn't we,
But-
Bobby?
yes, you did.
But, you know, we talked at AIC, we talked to some people who do online auctions, and I think we ought to try some of those, you know, because some of those cars have been sitting over there in the sheriff's lot for months and months and months.
Not appreciating.
No.
Sell them when the tires are
Well,
still good.
And taking up room.
Before they get flat on one
Difficult to
side.
navigate.
So anyway, I'll bring back some thoughts to you. We want to do something different.
What's the traditional gross that we've been getting? Is it going down each year, or
No, that's about what we got last year.
So
It
it's-
was about
it's probably
56,000.
buoyed by the fact that you have vehicles?
I'd say
It depends on how many cars there are, you know. I think Highway put, 4 or 5 trucks in, and there were 6 or 8 police cars, and
He had, and Mike put in some old fuel tanks
Yeah.
back, and they bought some money. Generally, that kind of stuff, you know, old air compressors,
like
tools, they do bring
Yeah.
some money, but the furniture
Chairs and
doesn't bring nothing.
computer equipment.
No, copier, $5, you know, so.
You didn't get rid of the one in planning, did you?
One what?
The old computer
Oh,
planning?
it's gone.
Oh, no.
Copy machine.
It's still down there.
Oh,
It's still working.
It's still working? Oh, good, it's great.
You know, once we removed the maintenance contract from it,
It's been perfect.
it never breaks.
It's the
I'm not
best
kidding
one
you.
in the building.
We,
Quit jinxing it.
I know it. anyway, so, okay.
What's next?
This is a follow-up. You remember the request you had from the folks who are in the Gateway Park about the potential parking there during the eclipse. You know, there's been some suggestions you block that off so that they can't park there. I'm not sure that's a viable solution.
They're gonna do it anyway.
I mean, you've got how many acres there to mark off? I'm not sure you could do that.
And you can't block the road.
You can't block the road because they've got to have trucks in and out. During the eclipse meeting that we had last week, you know, they're gearing up for a lot of business that day, and so there's not going to be much available help from law enforcement. You know, I think it's one of those things you just live with.
I do too.
I'm praying for snow that day and a cloudy day, and they'll just all
Cloudy
drive
snow
someplace else.
It never rains in April.
Yeah. So unless you have some other thoughts,
I think we just leave it.
yeah. You want to go down to some of your stuff on the bottom there?
Let's look at this.
Before we leave buildings and grounds, I'd like to discuss our entryway, the commissioner's suite. I heard that we were gonna take that wall down to the studs.
It's you, Mary Ann.
My location.
Quit talking.
Because you can't put drywall over that board. So I've been thinking that that's gonna be a pretty costly, messy endeavor to take it down to the studs. So I'm wondering, have we considered wallpaper? I mean, there's room for wallpaper to go over that board that would not require us going through a demo exercise.
What are we talking about?
Our, Bobby's area.
There is drywall and then there is cork over
Oh, that's
top
right.
of the
Yeah, you told me
drywall.
the cork over, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're talking,
So I'm talking
removing.
about removing everything down to the studs and then re-drywall.
But your crew's gonna do that, right?
We're going to remove this stuff and then have somebody else drywall it. That's the plan. And to, you know, to Mary Ann's point, it's already got a layer of covering on it. You can peel it
So
back.
you'd have to remove that and then clean up all the old glue and stuff like they did in here, which was very time consuming.
Time consuming, messy, expensive.
So
To do what you want to do, there's already a layer of wallpaper, for lack of a better word. It's a real thick wallpaper, but it's peeling, and so you couldn't put new over that. You'd have to take
Oh,
it
yeah, you
off.
remove the wallpaper. I've done that many times.
This is a little different. We've tried this. It's not, doesn't come off with a steam machine.
because it's plastic, some kind of vinyl.
I'm not suggesting you couldn't do that. Now, in the old conference room, we left it up there. We fixed the areas, and we painted over it. It doesn't look too bad, but
Do you have an estimated cost for doing that? You're getting one though.
You know,
We're talking about doing it when Bobby's on vacation. Because we've got other doorways into the offices. We can come in here and go in that door instead of going through this. And then this room would be, you take some Visqueen or something and wall it off so that we're not getting dust everywhere.
I think it could be sanded. I mean, I'm not saying removing wallpaper is an easy chore, but I mean, you could get a sander to take
I
that.
think the labor intensive of doing that is, it's just easier to take.
Well,
it
not
out.
like going down to the studs. I mean,
Well, that's
you
easy.
remember what it was like in here.
Oh, but this was a different situation.
It
Is
isn't the same material in our office as it was in here.
you can see it if you want to go out there
Yeah.
and you can see the covering on it. of how it, I almost think that was part of the corkboard. It was glued to, it's not your typical wallpaper. I think it was glued to the corkboard. And I think it's glued.
No,
Almost
it
wallpaper is
definitely,
glued.
Well, but it's a glue that you can steam and get off. This was intended to be permanent.
right.
It wasn't, well, wallpaper, it was to cover the corkboard in a permanent solution. Take a look at it. I'm open to suggestion, but I think
And you're getting a quote? You're getting a quote?
for the drywall, like, we'll take it, our staff will take the stuff off.
And it won't take a day. I mean, it's a small room. And,
Now,
and one wall is glass, so.
well, we need to take the ceiling grid down, so, because it goes above the ceiling grid.
Okay.
So, you can take a look at it, but I think the best is to just drywall it. You'll get a nicer
You're saying
finish.
it'll only take a day to demo?
I think so.
Day or two to demo. Bobby's out all week,
And when is that?
last week and this month. And she said she'd gladly be gone longer if it takes longer.
Okay, I do have a
That is big,
meeting
right?
coming in from, so another landlord's meeting, but they'll be in here.
Yeah, they're,
And that'll be in the evening too, won't it? So there won't be anything going on in there during.
One day to demo that room, you think?
it's just pulling the drywall off.
And it's a half, there's not even a whole wall.
And we're just
Talking
going
with
to,
this wall and that wall behind, right?
Well.
yeah, we're not going
Well,
down,
and the north
the one
wall.
on the.
we're not going to the
side.
hall, we're not going down the hall,
Yeah, so.
just going to the corner.
But I mean, I like the wallpaper. You're planning on just painting it white like everything else?
You can decide on the colors. I
But we
don't,
could wallpaper it, right?
well, you could.
I mean, we hadn't discussed this. I mean,
We haven't.
it was a done deal and we hadn't even
Wallpaper is
talked
so
about
out that
No
I hadn't
wallpaper.
even considered that. I don't like the idea of wallpaper.
It has to be replaced. Paint, you can change the colors. It's easy, it's quick. Wallpaper is so labor intensive to put up, and then if you want to change it.
it. I mean, if this was just white paint, this room wouldn't be nearly as nice.
This is acoustic though. This is for that purpose, not
I mean,
to be
picture this room just white paint. I'm saying that our
Fine with
entryway
that.
would look better if it was.
It would probably be a light gray.
I think we do with a repost gray. That's the most popular.
I mean, all I'm saying is we hadn't talked about this at all. You know, I think
Gray.
it's our suite. I think we really ought to have
That's what
some
we're doing our house
discussion.
here now.
Okay, and so we've had some discussion and two people don't want wallpaper and one person does. So where do we go from here?
But we don't have to have white on white.
Yeah,
We can talk
Paint.
about that.
Okay.
We can talk about that.
it's gray. There's my,
I don't pick colors, so you folks can pick your own color.
You get us a number of what it's gonna cost to do the drywall and let us know what Dale thinks in terms of demo, how long demo is gonna take.
And you say a day.
I said a day.
Yeah.
He said 2 days.
I said 2 days.
Oh. I just remember how much longer this room took than all the best estimates.
Most of that was waiting for people to come in and do the job. And at least for the demo, we direct those people. Okay, what's next, Steve?
Okay, so you have the picture of the awning in front of you. This is in front of the health department. And simply demonstrate to you what the awning that's there looks like. And
It doesn't look good.
to replace that with a new awning and new frame and new posts. And this quote includes an emblem, the health department emblem. I'm not sure you want to do that, but
Yeah, I don't think we
because
do.
they're not gonna be there that long that we,
2 years.
so the quote with the emblem is $4,325. that's installed. The quote previous to that without the emblem was about 400 and some bucks less, so it'll be around $4,000. And
You got that in the building and grounds
we
budget?
can pay that out of the building and grounds budget.
Can't we take that, the health department pay for that?
Well, I'm gonna see,
Structural.
but if they can't, I've got the money, but I will do that. I'll say, hey, you got some of these grant funds that'll pay for this.
I think we look at that avenue, but yeah, I'm
And-
okay
and
with
then
that. I
the
mean, it
color.
desperately needs, it's awful looking,
It's
so.
terrible.
The color will be,
Yeah, come in here for your health.
Yeah,
We have mold growing on our awning.
so are you okay to move forward with this?
Yes, absolutely. But if they can pay for it,
Overdue.
I'll
they can
just
pay
check
for
for funding from them. If not, we have to do it.
maybe they have a mold remediation fund that they can tap into.
And then I'd like to get an updated version of our ordinance contract that we have with American Publishing. Recall that they do the codification of our ordinances, and the last contract you had with them was in 2018, and it was for 5 years, and what that does, it guarantees a certain price for certain things, per page, per ordinance. It locks it in. This has expired. The last time they updated our ordinances was 2019, about the middle of 2019. But I think this time we want to look at electronically and go online.
Absolutely.
Steve, correct me, didn't we do this back in like February? We talked
We've
about.
talked
We
about it.
talked about
We
it.
didn't,
You
didn't
never
pull the
told me,
trigger.
yeah,
It
never.
wasn't expired yet.
But it didn't include electronic at that time.
because I remember us talking about, we definitely want electronic, so.
Absolutely.
I would like to get an
Yes.
updated version and present that back to you folks.
Yes.
Okay, yes, by all means. And how long will it take you to get that
How long will
updated
it take
version?
Now, she's been close to that from the beginning.
And then the holiday dinner, just remember you did set aside December 13th for that, just a couple points. Joe has put together an outline here, and her thoughts are, and traditionally, the commissioners have purchased the meat for that. And then she asked for pitch-in from the employees, and that's usually been pretty successful. And for those who don't want to cook, she asked them for plates and cups and so on and so forth. She would also like to do she had a pretty good turnout with her dog photo contest. She had 113 employees participate in that. And for this, she would like to do a Jell-O contest. And, nobody likes Jell-O molds at Christmas, but she would like to do a Jell-O contest to have folks create a Jell-O recipe and submit those for judging. And she would.
Just the recipes, not the.
Not the actual.
Okay.
Yeah,
Bring the
actual.
food and they're gonna.
What was their first endeavor in this vein, or what you
She created a calendar with employees' dogs on them.
Oh, okay.
It's really
Dogs of
adorable.
county employees.
Did you
the
ever
dogs of-
get your calendars?
Yeah, I got it.
So, and then she sold them, and the proceeds went to United Way. And she made it work, so.
It's great.
And I think she is suggesting that we close the building that day between 11 and 1, because obviously the space that we need to set up for food will be in the hallway, and then this space will be used for the tables to set up to eat. I think I agree with that. It gives an opportunity for those offices to close and let their employees come over here. We would do some advance notices that we are going to close them too. Yeah, and we've done that before.
I was just saying, is that legal, can we legally shut?
Well, you guys can.
The commissioners can set the hours for the building, but you said
Chronos,
we've done it before. When have we done it before?
We have closed for a similar meal like this. When we had the meal downstairs, we closed the building.
Really?
we put it on the radio that the building would be closed between such and such.
So you lock the doors and
Put a sign up,
Now, that was before Kronos.
And
We're
we
going to
put-
have to decide how,
and we put signs on the doors prior to, days prior to, saying that the building would be closed on December 13th, 11 a.m. Yep,
Okay,
so everybody good with that?
any problem with that?
move for approval, close this building from 11 to 1 on December 13th.
13th, yep.
Is that Friday the 13th?
And Wednesday.
Wednesday, okay. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
On the same side.
That's all I have.
While we're talking about the building potentially being closed, let me bring up this little gem that came up when I was sitting with the other folks from Wayne County at the AIC dinner at the conference. The suggestion of we opted to not make the solar eclipse a day off as a compromise position. The suggestion was to close the buildings to the public on that day and allow people, if they chose, to take a vacation day using their own vacation or personal time. So I wasn't aware that we had done building closures in the past, but I would think that could operate on the same basis where we would advertise that the building was going to be closed to the public, not to employees, but closed to the public on that day. So offer that for consideration. Obviously, we don't have to make a decision today, but that's something that was brought up by more than one elected official.
So that small departments wouldn't have to
have somebody here.
it's for small departments.
Correct, essentially.
They'd use
I mean, it would be
If it
for,
was that
it would
important
apply
to
to
them,
everybody.
if it was that important to them, they'd take their own time to be off.
Well, again, the issue for some of them was if everybody wants to go and we have to be open,
Sure.
then we can't, somebody has to stay.
But to the employee, if it's that important to them, they would take a vacation day or a personal day.
Oh, yes, instead of us
Give-
giving
give
it to
them
everybody as
extra
vacation
day off,
day, it would be something that they would choose to spend their vacation time or personal day to do that.
You recall during COVID, the buildings were closed,
Correct.
which made it easier for departments to be closed.
Correct.
So that's the most recent examples of building closures. And people were able to work at home. It will, if we do close the buildings, that will raise the question of, can I work at home and not take a vacation day?
No, I think if we do that, this is a once in 1,000-year situation. And, if we close the buildings to the public and you choose to take the day off, now of course you could take a half a day off if you would rather.
Yeah, they attacked me before you got there
have some
about a
choice.
half day off.
So, but to me, that we've made that decision. This is slightly different in that it would be one day every 1,000 years that we would be closed to the public.
put that down your calendar.
Yes.
Put that next one down.
So,
Next
again,
2032.
we don't need to make a decision today. Let's
There's gonna be a partial one this month.
consider that. We might even bring that up.
I
We
think
might
so.
even bring this up at
10 minutes.
Yeah.
as a point of conversation at the elected officials meeting in 3 weeks. So
Yeah,
there's
why don't
that.
we discuss it with them?
That's what I'm suggesting. So,
That's fine.
okay. All right. Steve, anything else?
No, sir.
What about this phone tree? Have there been changes other than?
Missing a lot of numbers.
Yeah, for Did someone explain this to you?
No, I think I know the premise behind it, but if somebody could explain to me
If
exactly.
the commissioners decide upon weather-related issues to close the building, there's a number we have here that employees can call. There's a message that's put on it, if there's inclement weather call coming on, that they can call it, and we put a message on that the building will be closed. But we also do this where, like under your name, because you commissioners would have had discussion that you're gonna close the building, so you call Bobby. That's the only person you need to call. Bobby then calls Mark Holscher, and that's probably not a good one to call, but anyway, you call Mark Holscher, then he calls Nancy Funk and Debbie Tiemann, and they in turn call their employees. So that's,
Well,
I
who calls
see.
Gordon Moore?
I'm sorry,
She calls Gordon Moore and Tim Smith, anybody with a
Yeah.
dot.
and then he calls his employees.
Okay, so my responsibility is
It's just to call Bobby. Yep.
So if we close at 1:30 in the morning, I get to call Bobby. Good morning, we're closed.
And Jeff calls
One thirty in
me.
the morning might not be very nice.
Get the day off. Sleep in.
Now, Jeff, you think that you're gonna call everybody that's under you, and then they call.
No, I was just gonna call you,
Yeah.
and you were gonna call
Yeah.
everybody under
Yeah.
there.
But you call the radio stations.
No,
I'm not understanding.
You're gonna call Rich Rankin?
Well,
this is the old one.
this is the old one. She'll update
It's
this.
highlighted that that needed to be changed.
Anyway, the point here is we need to update this list. If this is gonna be our process, we need to update the list and
Not that I
have
want
that
to think
available.
about this yet, but how does that process work? I remember vaguely, we talked about it in January. EMA is making a recommendation through the highway department when they go out and
Correct.
they call us. We three sit down and say, yeah, based on the recommendation, EMA and the highway department, we should be closed.
And Mike generally would have had some conversation with the school superintendents. And then I think President has conversation with the mayor.
You know, it didn't come up. It hasn't come
I
up
know,
this year.
because of the weather.
So I
Yeah, the
haven't had
three
any
of us
conversation.
only got involved in the past for a level 3 decision. The president,
Well, and the 911 director of the year actually has the ability to call the level 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Because that allows people to go to work.
Yeah.
And so it's only if we're at a level 3 that the commissioners have to
But I
make
think
a
he will
decision.
call you just out of courtesy to let you know what's going on.
yeah, I think the
Correct.
president
I think he has
always
to
had a
report level
courtesy
2 and
call
3,
from
doesn't
EMA
State.
highway.
Yeah.
But we, all three of us only get involved to make a decision on a level 3.
Okay.
And two of us really have to agree on that for us to go to a level 3, I think.
But you would have gotten input then from Mike
Yeah.
and Matthew and the
And we've
sheriff.
never had
Sheriff.
problems having unanimous agreement on level 3.
And honestly, I don't know because it hadn't come up since I've been on.
It's usually pretty obvious, but there was one time when it was not real obvious because it's very costly to factories to shut down. So,
All right. So that's the phone tree. There's a couple of things that have come up that I want to talk to you about as they relate to help programs and projects, and
And don't forget about the youth coordinator.
let's do that now.
Okay.
Youth coordinator before I forget. So why don't you explain?
Direct Committee Wayne County had a board meeting last week, and as much as they appreciate the commissioners funding the youth coordinator to the end of the year, it's not feasible for them to hire somebody that they can't guarantee that's gonna have a job past December. So they had asked that we look at funding it for at least 1 year, the end of this year and all next year,
Of 24.
so that they can hire somebody.
And that came from the funding for the drug-free Wayne County, right? It was part of that money. Or no, it was, I'm sorry, it was opioid settlement.
Opioid settlement.
It was opioid.
Yeah, it was
So
for
I don't think we ever
2023.
earmarked it exactly, but because you said we're gonna figure out where we're gonna fund it, but
But that's what the thrust of the discussion
Right.
was, can it be paid for by opioid? It was a
Yeah.
conversation about whether it was in close enough alignment with opioid, because some of it was cigarettes or
but when Tim came in and gave that presentation, we agreed that it
it would
definitely.
fit, it would fit,
It fits the restricted
yeah.
under Exhibit E standards because juvenile prevention is very much listed in Exhibit E, the
Right.
I don't think
restricted.
there's any question whether it fits into it. It's just,
And so,
they were asking if we could,
that being the case, can we go ahead, because the commissioners ultimately approve the opioid money, can we go ahead and commit a year and 3 months of funding
we've already
instead of
approved it
just
through.
3 months?
Yeah,
So
extend it through.
12 months. And do you recall the amount?
No, I don't.
Bobby, have you got it somewhere?
Somewhere around 5,000.
That was for the three.
That was for 3 months.
I thought it was
So
like
I was thinking it was
15,000.
15. Was
Somewhere
what
around
stuck in my
15.
head.
1,000.
Have you've already advertised the 3,900 because it has to be appropriated and advertised. Although that's kind of gray since it's not tax money.
Correct.
We've
We've already
erred on the
advertised that. We
side
can
of
just say we're
caution.
going to additionally fund through 2024. Leave that appropriation out
I
there.
think we can say it's going to be, we think it's a high enough priority that we're going to approve the funding. And if it still needs to be appropriated, then that would be a council role. But I can't imagine any pushback from council. So, I mean, I guess we could approve it subject to appropriation by council.
You just approve it and then deal with the subject to later if it has to happen. I mean,
Okay.
sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness and permission.
He said to the camera.
I'm like you, I did not think that these funds had to be appropriated.
Yeah, I'm
I think
not
we've
sure.
always tried to err on the side of,
We didn't, when we went through the first rounds of the grants before, that we went to council and got their,
Oh, yes, we did. And we
I think we did,
advertised
yeah.
and
Or
had it
invited
appropriated.
proposals.
Oh, yeah, we did not do any of this without
No, council was in the
soliciting
loop.
proposals. And it's supposed to be one of the core requirements for opioid funds is that we have highly transparent call for proposals.
So how quickly, well.
If $3,900 is what it costs to, in salary for
3
one
months.
quarter, then 19,500 is what it would cost for 5 quarters.
sounds right. Because that included some expenses, I think, on there too.
No, that's just wages.
I think it was wages.
I can't remember. It seems like there was like 15,500.
Well, they asked for marketing dollars and materials and something like that was like an extra $1,500 a quarter that they wanted. But he said just to get through fourth quarter would be $3,900 in wages.
Yeah.
Now, if that organization can't raise $1,500 a quarter in other means, I question
I'm not
whether,
worried about that part of it.
I would think they could raise $1,500 a quarter, $500 a month for printing and materials and
I think the
marketing.
main thing is that we approve this today so that they can actually advertise to hire somebody.
Well, and I think that's the discussion. Can we approve it? What do you think, Ron? Can we approve $15,000 of opioid settlement money today? given where
I think
we're
you
at?
can if you choose to. I mean, are you considering taking it out of the restricted or unrestricted?
It
far as I'm
qualifies for
concerned.
restricted.
It could come out of either though, if
We've
that
received
makes a difference.
88,000 of what we anticipate will be 400,000 this year, of which roughly 300,000 is restricted. So this is a small portion of what we anticipate receiving this year. However, it has not been transparently, of those who are qualified for restricted funds, we have not been transparent at all about it.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure that every restricted dollar that's spent has to necessarily be subject to a request for proposal process. I mean, these people did come to you through the drug free task force.
Right, right.
And we've been in public meetings
That was a
announced
very public
numerous
meeting.
times that we will be receiving approximately $420,000 in 2023, of which 70% is restricted. I mean, it's been in public meetings and the like. So it's not like it has been.
Because we only chose to do the 3 months. At that point, we could have done it and there was no objection at that point. We just chose for the end of the year.
Yeah, I raised the transparency pillar that's a part of the opioid settlement guidance.
I think we can do it. I think if it needs to pass muster somehow and it makes it more palatable to take it out of unrestricted, then let's take it out of unrestricted, which we can do whatever we choose to with, so.
No, it definitely qualifies under Exhibit E. The
Well,
tobacco is not a part of this.
You're saying it qualifies, but the process hasn't been followed through.
Well, but even restricted funds are supposed to be
Unrestricted, I'm
highly,
talking.
yeah,
Unrestricted.
even unrestricted distribution is supposed to be highly transparently announced, et cetera.
So you're saying we can't do it?
Oh, we can. I mean,
I don't know what you're saying then.
it's one of the pillars.
I don't
okay?
think they want it to become another tobacco settlement mess, like, if you can spell part of tobacco, you can spend the money.
I mean, they asked us how, in the report, they asked us, how did we announce? And we were so very, very transparent,
We were last year,
We were extremely transparent.
okay?
And this year, we have been transparent enough, I think,
So.
by announcing it in public meetings.
So is that a motion to provide $15,000 of funding for this position for 2024?
I'm comfortable enough because I am confident that this is all qualified. So I move that we add an additional 4 quarters of salary so that we award a total of $19,500 to the Wayne County Drug Free Partnership for the youth coordinator through calendar year 2024
Second.
from opioid settlement money.
No, I think it needs to be drug-free Wayne County Board of Directors. I don't know if the partnership, I don't know what they're like, because that person reports to the Board of Directors.
Well, that's the name of the organization.
Now, I don't know if they need to go to the partnership to get approval at that point for that, which we're having a meeting
So
tomorrow.
who would this person
To
work for?
hire a,
Drug-free Wayne County Board of Directors.
Okay. So will you amend your motion that the money goes to the drug-free Wayne County Board of Directors for the same purpose?
for
the same
uh,
purpose, to pay the.
for
the
drug
youth
prevention, for youth.
Yeah, for the youth
For youth
coordination.
coordinator,
For
for
the youth
drug-free,
To hire a youth coordinator.
to hire a youth coordinator.
Okay,
But
so,
we've always awarded it to an organization, not to their board. I mean, we have to award it to an organization.
Well, I thought the Drug-Free Wayne County is the organization. The partnership is the members that come into Either way, whether you want to call it a
Drug-free
partnership, whatever we
Wayne
did
County.
it before is.
I mean, that's the name of the organization.
Okay, so
Wayne
it's
County
drug-free.
Drug-Free Partnership's the name of the organization.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So we'll need to advertise an additional
Appropriation.
appropriation.
Okay. Two things that have come up with respect to projects that have already been approved by council and commissioners under the HELP program. One is the money that we have committed for blight elimination throughout the county, and there are two sources of funding for that. One is the Consolidated Edit Fund, and one is the Wayne County Edit Fund. And the total amount, I know I have that here, the total amount committed is $780,000. Valerie Schaefer, the director of the EDC, has approached me. You know Sarah Mitchell on staff there at the EDC. When she worked for the city of Richmond as their city planner, she ran the city's blight elimination program. They tore down 200 or 300 structures, and Valerie offered their services to organize and operate that blight elimination program for the county. I think that makes eminent sense, and so I would suggest that we do that. The second program is conducting a study on animal welfare. I've been approached by the Wayne County Foundation, who has a significant interest in this issue. They deal frequently with the animal welfare organizations who apply for grants through them. And Rebecca tells me that they have been trying to organize to conduct a study on the current state and future proposed state of animal welfare in Wayne County for several years. They welcome the opportunity to organize and run that process, hiring a consultant with the money that's provided by the county and the city. The city, of course, has not yet adopted the strategic investment plan. They had to defer their meeting date to the 16th of this month, so it had been scheduled for this past Monday, but they had to put it off by 2 weeks. So they'll be meeting on the 16th. In the meantime, the task force that has been meeting, talking about animal shelter issues, solicited some proposals for funding, and I just got these from that group, and I shared these. I'm going to pass that around to Ron, from that group. And so what I'm proposing is that the Wayne County Foundation would take over the organization and responsibility for hiring a consultant and planning and running that planning process. And we would simply be the vehicle for paying for that cost. If you remember, the SIP calls for $50,000 from the county, $50,000 from the city. That was what was approved. These numbers, as I reviewed them, are less than that. So I would think that we could perhaps use the additional money in animal welfare projects like trap, neuter, these programs that have already been happening this year. That's, something we need to discuss. So those two things, and there will be others of these projects that I think can and should be assigned to other groups to manage, because we're not gonna have the
So
capacity
it's
to manage all
780,000
of those.
provided for blight elimination.
780,000, half from Consolidated Edit, half from Wayne County Edit. And then 100,000, 50,000 from the county, 50,000 from the city for the animal welfare study. And those are the numbers that have been committed. I saw a date, and I assume you've been involved in the conversations about these. There is, for one of them, from Team Shelter USA, there was a restriction if we could commit this month or this week, I guess. They could do it yet this fall. If we weren't able to commit yet, it would have to be deferred into the spring of 2024. So
Why?
just because of their calendar.
Availability.
What's the name of this organization?
Team Shelter USA. I didn't see anything of that kind of restriction under the Shelter Savvy. There are several more pages to the Team Shelter, and I will forward these to both of you in case you don't have them. The Shelter Savvy group was just this 2-page. The Team Shelter had kind of a curriculum vitae of the principal of the organization, who is a veterinarian, Dr. Sarah Pisano.
These are two different organizations?
Two different organizations that the task force that had been meeting, the task that Brad has been talking with, they solicited some proposals, and these are what came in. But again, my suggestion is that we would assign that responsibility to the Wayne County Foundation to oversee that project, and the net result will be a plan of action, recommendations that will be released publicly. And of course, at the moment, there's nothing committed beyond this $100,000 for the study. So my assumption would be that there would be then requests that would come to various entities to try to fund some of those initiatives that come out of the study. And that would be a separate issue. This would just be to actually conduct the study and hire a consultant and be responsible for operating that study.
Yeah, and when I talked to Rebecca at the foundation, I felt very comfortable with the fact that she would be a non-biased third party initiating this and having whatever consultant they choose to go with and put their input on what they want the consultant to evaluate. And I feel very comfortable with that.
I know you're seeing this for the first time, and I apologize for that, but it came to me when I was in French Lick, and so we've been a little busy this week. So I will send you the rest of that proposal. It's not to say that I would put a restriction on the foundation of who they would hire. Those just came from that.
Where is Shelter Savvy out of?
This is all.
Atlanta?
This is all that I have.
Carrie is based in Atlanta, so that is she a veterinarian too? No, she's a Master
Yeah,
of Science.
I think she runs
Okay,
shelters is her
Atlanta.
background. Carrie's
And
based in
the
Atlanta.
team shelter is Florida, right?
Yes,
And the Atlanta organization could do it right away, and the team shelter says it's now or spring of 25.
correct. 24.
24. Boy, that's valuable time. The if there's, I mean, a shelter has to be built with some
Well,
alacrity,
we don't
right?
know if there's a shelter.
Well, but
We can't sit on this
I don't-
forever. It's not like.
correct. So I'm fine with going ahead and approving to transfer the money to the foundation to conduct the study as quickly as possible. Are you agreeable with that?
Well, there's some history with the foundation and animal groups when this all started, because the foundation had a proposal that kind of sent the relationship south. But what the foundation wanted to do, shall we say, was not embraced warmly by the animal organizations. So your acceptance of the foundation, I wish we could have had some conversation about it before you were so warmly embracing that concept, because I know how
I think it makes
it would be
perfect
received
sense.
by some animal organizations.
Well,
I mean, I don't know if you have any history of that, but I certainly do.
I don't. I doubt that Rebecca, the current president of the foundation or CEO, was involved in that. I don't know that, but she hadn't been around very long. They're interested in sorting out what are the issues and sorting through those. It's going to take that kind of leadership, I think, to make this work. Certainly, none of the animal welfare groups can head this up. I just think the foundation makes the most sense. There's going to have to be funds raised, and if whatever we decide to do, and they make the most logical group to lead that fundraising as well.
Can they have funds?
Well, and they have money.
I would just like to say this. The foundation has expressed a very strong point of view regarding how they see the entire animal welfare issue should be managed in Wayne County. This point of view has been articulated, has been expressed, and is not necessarily in line with best practices of animal welfare management in other counties. And I am not comfortable with this decision being made without having some conversation with the Wayne County Foundation after spending 11 years in intense animal welfare
It's your voice.
activity. I think it is, or my location. I'm not comfortable at all and would really not want to turn over any portion of our $50,000, and certainly not more than $5,000, because the quote is for $10,000 plus expenses.
For one of them.
Well, both of them are 10,000.
One's 40,000.
40,000.
You've got other ones.
10,000 from Shelter Savvy,
Consulting fee, 40,000 from
Oh.
Team Shelter.
Team Shelter. I mean, and, you know, so much of this money is going to go for travel. I don't know how
And the 10,000,
diligent they were finding
the 10,000 does not include
some kind of
travel, by the
assistance
way.
from Purdue. Purdue certainly has expertise. Do you know if the foundation had any contact with Purdue?
They're not involved at this point. They've offered to be involved. This committee that Brad served on came up with these two recommendations. or-
What was the contact with Purdue?
I have no idea. Dr. Stacy has really been the point on getting these consultants. And she's familiar with both of these and was very adamant that these are the two best.
And who is Dr. Stacy?
Had conversations with her.
Oh,
She's
well,
the
that's,
veterinarian.
that's
that
not how
works
I
for-
pronounce her name. Stasic? You mean Stasic? You mean at ACA?
Thought it was Stacy. That's what we.
Stasic is, I mean, that's, Stacy isn't.
Maybe it's Stacy Stasic. I don't know. I don't know her.
The ACA veterinarian?
Yeah.
But, I mean, she's not familiar with Purdue. She's, you know, she does not know their expertise. I'm not comfortable going straight to Florida or Georgia to find
But
expertise. in
you
this
also
area.
just said time is of the essence, and this task force has been working diligently to try to find a consultant that will get on this right away. And we waited for the city for several months. It wasn't done, so we took the ball ourselves. Dr. Stacy, or Stacy, however you say it, is, we charged her to find somebody. She vetted both of these. She's talked to them both. I don't know if she has a working relationship with either one of them, but she's talked to them. And she felt comfortable with getting proposals from both of them. And felt that either one, she leans towards one, but I do not want to say which one because I don't want to skew anybody's opinion. But she felt that they could both do what we needed to move this project along, whether we,
As she's,
I can't say
what do
what,
you think we need?
it doesn't matter what I think we need.
Well, I
That's
think
why
the
we're hiring a
commissioners need to
consultant.
have a
That's why
very,
we're hiring a consultant, so we can make a determination. They're gonna tell us what we need. I'm not an animal.
well, knowing that the foundation has expressed a strong point of view that frankly got some derailing going on. This whole subject of the foundation taking over this role and putting the public policymakers aside is something that I'm really
They're
not
not. They're
comfortable with.
they're just hiring the
Putting
consultant.
us aside. They would be hiring a consultant and working with that consultant on the planning process. Ultimately, the public policy, any public policy that comes out of this is going to be decided by the elected officials.
Well, I certainly don't want the foundation's point of view directing the study, because I do not agree with what I have been informed is the foundation's point of view.
And my feeling is that we shouldn't be directing the study either, because I said either, but I meant we should not be directing the study, because ultimately, we're gonna have to take the fruit of the study and decide whether we're going to invest in public policy decisions based on that. The input is gonna come from the community. So this makes perfect sense. It's what the foundation has been designed to do. And they're moving in the direction of greater participation in community development and in community planning. I think it's the perfect opportunity to work with them. I think we should do it. I think we should leave the decision on the best consultant to go with up to them.
Because I was not allowed to participate in this process, and this is the very first I've heard of it, I asked for 1 week to discuss this with the foundation or Dr. Stacy. That's all I'm asking for, is a week to understand what they are perceiving the study structure, the design of the study. The design is essential in order to know exactly what they are going for.
If we wait a week, one of the proposals will have to wait until January before they can even start.
Now, that's outrageous for them to, I mean, well, Richmond can't even discuss this till the 16th. So
That's why we're taking it to the foundation and using our portion of our that we've already committed.
You're
City has
saying
no-
we give the foundation $40,000? What are you proposing today?
That we allow the foundation to work on establishing a contract with a provider for the study, and that we will provide funding as we move forward. As simple as that. Now, this study, and again, it says somewhere that $40,000 in quarter four of 2023 would be invoiced in quarter one of 2024 and due 30 days upon receipt. So no money would change hands until 2024, if that's the proposal we go with. If this is the proposal that they decide to hire, this is significantly less cost. And so it would fall within our half of the funding clearly.
So what did Sarah Pisano say? She has to have authority to move forward by what date?
By Friday.
Friday.
So she said she has to have authority to go forward by Friday, or it's January of next year before she can.
Based on her scheduling and other clients that she has.
And she'll start this study when?
If we can make it, the foundation hires that person and signs the contract with her, I think it's fairly immediately. It's the fourth quarter of this year.
And the on-site visit, she's gonna spend 4 days here.
And she's gonna have a report back to us within 4 weeks of the on-site visit. So it's gonna move fairly quickly.
So you're saying the county carries this forward before the city of Richmond even gets together?
I'm saying that's a possibility.
Well, if the city of Richmond isn't meeting till the 16th, and you won't even give me till the 11th, and she has to have a decision by the 6th, she has to have a decision by October 6th, right?
In order to move
Pisano
forward this
does.
year.
In order to
Or-
move forward
Well,
in the
you and
fall.
I know losing 3 months is a terrible mistake.
That's why we're trying to,
Then this would expedite that.
and that's why I think
And you
it's-
don't even know if anybody contacted Purdue. Purdue
I guess
has-
not. I don't know. I make a motion that we allow the foundation to move forward and hire a consultant on the animal welfare.
Second. Further discussion. Begs the question, Ron, on would we need to enter into a contract, a memorandum of understanding of some kind to do that?
What's the source of your funds? Your
It would be the ARPA funds.
ARPA funds? I would think you'd have to have something, written evidence of.
We haven't even seen this contract. And you're saying we just turn this contractual agreement over to the Wayne County Foundation that I already know is contrary to what I believe to be best practices for an animal shelter? I think this is outrageous.
They're not writing.
They're running the
proposal.
design.
They're contracting with a professional to provide those services.
They're designing the study that's going to establish the path for an animal shelter.
Okay, so if we approve giving,
Well, if you approve the motion, we can go, you know, we have to go forward, but I mean, there'd be additional documentation to implement what you've done
So,
now.
okay, so
What
we'd have
the
to,
foundation thinks they need, I can't speak to.
right, so we'd have
Are
to,
they basically telling you that they've determined as between the two?
no. No, those are,
Those are the better,
these are the two proposals that came from a citizens committee that was looking at the animal shelter issue. So.
what's the foundation
The
and?
foundation will look at these. They could, I suppose, choose some.
Are they gonna look at them between now and Friday night?
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
That's ridiculous. They're gonna enter into a contractual arrangement with a woman from Georgia or a woman from Florida and agree to pay travel expenses that we have no idea what they're going to be. They're going to design the study that's going to set forth a possibly multi-million-dollar structure over which we have no control of the design. And all I'm asking for is a week to do some diligence on this, of which you had no role whatsoever as the commissioner's representative in exploring what the
I've made a
design was
motion
going to be.
and I'd like,
There's a second.
I will not be sitting here and be belated by somebody, so let's move on. please.
All right, so all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Okay, so motion carries, and we will work with the foundation to get the documentation that we need. Obviously, if that documentation is not completed by Friday, they can't make a commitment with this.
Irresponsible governance.
Okay, now am I to wait for contact, or are you gonna be coordinating with the foundation?
Yes,
They'll be generating whatever documents they think are needed and you want me to review them,
yes, absolutely. All right, what else do we have?
Totally irresponsible.
Anything else? Steve,
Just waiting on parking, or
that will be,
striping and meeting with the,
Yeah, are we, anything on the gazebo, any?
I haven't heard, is there?
I sent Max an email, let me see if he responded. Just asking if his board has reviewed our location and we're waiting the back response from that, so.
Just wanna make sure I don't have it on my plate and not realize it.
Good deal. Bobby, anything else? All right, if there's nothing else, we're adjourned.